Hi everyone and welcome to today's episode of HR Debatable. My name is Nelly, I am your host, and today I'm once again joined by two fabulous guests. I'm here with Griet Deka and Marie Richter. Hi Griet and hi Marie.
Hello, thanks for having us.
You're very welcome. Let's start with a short introduction for each of you. So Griet, perhaps you can start us off.
Absolutely. So my name is Griet Deka. I'm a Chief Happiness Officer and a Stress and Burnout Coach and co-founder of Triangle. Triangle is an office that works on happiness and well-being at work here in Belgium. And we have a team of about 21 people going out all places for training, coaching, team building, consulting, everything that can help to be happier and healthier at work, actually.
Awesome. Thank you. Marie, would you also like to say a few words?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Marie. I'm an HR consultant based in Berlin. I've been consulting for the past 4 to 5 years. Before that, I started my career in HR at Google almost exactly 11 years ago at this point. I then also worked for SoundCloud back in Berlin, which is where I'm from and also based now. And I was VP People at Biddy, which is a fintech based in Berlin. And now my consulting work, I mostly work with startups and scale-ups of all sizes and industries.
Fantastic. Very happy to have both of you here and very excited to get started. Now, for those of you who are listening, if you do not know HR Debatable, the idea is as follows. So in HR Debatable, we, as the name suggests, debate on various statements with two different guests. What will happen is I will give a bit of context, then I will share a statement, and I will ask Griet and Marie to say whether or not they agree with the statement. And then, of course, they will get the opportunity to elaborate on why they agree or may not agree with that statement. Griet and Marie, do you have any questions?
Not yet.
Ready to go?
All right, then we are going to go. All right, our first theme today is compensation and benefits. In a previous life, I worked for a large investment bank, and once a year, my manager would call each of the team members in his office to tell us what our bonus would be for that year. There seemed to be very little logic behind the way the bonus was calculated and distributed. My boss simply received a certain amount from his boss that he could then divide between himself and the team at his own discretion. Years later, in yet another previous life of mine, I worked for a completely different company, and here we would know at the start of the year what the amount of our bonus at the end of the year would be. Here too, it wasn't very clear on what the actual amount of the bonus was based. We did, however, know for sure that regardless of our performance, we would always receive our bonus as our manager just gave everyone in the team their bonus. And while these examples from my own life may be the exception to the rule, they do highlight a couple of well-known potential drawbacks related to employee bonuses. They can create a culture of individualism and distrust when it's not clear what the bonus is based on. They can prevent people from doing their best work if they know that they'll get their bonus no matter what. And they can also create unrealistic expectations among employees. Other drawbacks include the fact that bonuses tend to be taxed and that candidates looking for a job may actually prefer a higher base salary rather than a bonus. All of this, Griet and Marie, brings me to our first statement of the day. Bonuses don't work. Period. All right. Now, Griet, what do you vote regarding this statement?
I absolutely agree, but we will have to add a couple of side notes, though.
All right. Marie, what do you vote on this one?
I'm going the opposite way. I'm saying no to the statement.
Oh, wow.
Ooh.
Nice. So we have already two different opinions on the first statement. That is awesome. Okay, Griet, I'm going to come back to you. So yeah, please elaborate why you said yes, but we do need to add a couple of things.
Yeah, well, the thing with bonuses, as a chief happiness, of course, we often get this kind of question. And the thing with bonuses is they bring a lot of joy and happiness for a short moment in time. Because when I'm working hard, I get rewarded. Of course, I'm happy with it. But once I have spent the money or put it in my bank account, I go like, yeah, what's next? And what I expect is, yeah, I've worked harder this year than last year. So this year, my bonus needs to go up. But is that possible? We don't always know. Now, I have nothing against bonuses if you put them into practice in the right way. And that means that it's just one little part of working on rewards. And the basic thing, it's all about appreciation. You don't have to pay me money to make me understand that you appreciate my work. If you tell me on a regular basis, if you make me feel appreciated, that will have a way bigger effect than any financial compensation.
All right. Thank you very much, Griet. Marie, I'm going to you.
Sure. I actually completely agree with everything Pete just said. I would say, however, that bonuses do tend to work. So obviously we're talking about annual bonuses here. So the ones that are usually given to, not sales employees, but other regular employees who still want or have a bonus component to their total compensation package. I think it still works because if done properly, and this is usually where it kind of goes a little bit wrong, they do have the intended effect, right? It also really depends on the type of position and the individual persons. I would definitely preface it with that. Certain types of roles, people also just expect to have a certain bonus attached to it. Also with certain types of companies, usually larger ones, it's a given. But then usually what I see in the work that I do with startups, scale-ups, etc., that usually are a little bit smaller, or still growing or, growing fast. So implementing these types of things can also be tricky. It usually isn't quite feasible for them because the methodology might need to be tweaked quite regularly to be able to get to a form where it actually makes sense for everyone. And this is usually where it breaks down. So yes, actually for most companies, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but where they're implemented right, they can definitely have the desired effect. Obviously, because, compensation isn't the only thing that motivates people, but it can still be a determining factor that people can kind of tie their own performance and outcomes and results to at least a little bit. Maybe it also doesn't have to be a bonus based only on your individual performance, but also a mix of team performance maybe and the company performance. That's how you see it often done in sales teams. But yes, there's definitely a few hiccups here and there that I've encountered also in the work that I've done that definitely make the whole annual bonus topic a little bit tricky to handle.
Thank you very much, both of you. Yes, I think a few valid points that you're making here. On the one hand, the fact that yes, you can show your appreciation to employees in a different way, and on the other hand, the point that yes, bonuses do actually work if they're done correctly. And I think that's also something that came from the actually real life examples that I shared from my life. It felt a bit random the way that the bonuses worked in both of these companies, and that I think is not the way to go. Perhaps it could be interesting to briefly touch on, and Marie, you already did a little bit, but I would like to hear each of your thoughts on, can we think of a way of doing bonuses the right way? So what kind of elements are important in that regard then? Griet, I'm going to start with you, if there's anything that comes to mind.
Yeah, well, first of all, if we talk about bonus, make it a real bonus. What do I want to say? Well, you mentioned that the tax issues. There might be here in Belgium, there are at least some tax-friendly bonus possibilities. Make sure that as an employer, as an HR professional, that you are installing the kind of bonus that people can really consider as a bonus, because otherwise you will be spending a lot of money and your amazing coworkers won't be receiving so much. Second thing, I think having formal and explicit criteria that everybody understands in the same way as you mean them is a very important aspect, where we need to be focusing on two parts, let's say. It's not only an individual work, it's also a teamwork. And here at Triangle, for instance, yes, we do work with bonuses for our essential team. We have like team targets, and everybody mentioned, discussed what's going to be my added value to the team target. And so that way we have individual targets, goals, we have a team target, and let's look together at what's happening, not only at the end of the year, but it's a matter of bringing things to the table when we can still do something about it. And I think that way it's all about co-working and communicating with each other.
Great points. Thank you, Marie. I mean, I know that this is kind of also the space that you have quite a bit of experience in as well. So what are your thoughts on this?
Totally agree. What I think is definitely tricky always is to determine exactly what type of outcomes are actually realistic, right? You also see this in sales teams all too often, where you start up maybe the quarter, even the year with a certain target, of what 100% fulfillment might mean. And then obviously there might be, accelerators that come beyond, when you're excelling beyond that particular target. What I've seen happen as well is that these targets kind of shift as time progresses. as they would with any type of business, but I guess especially businesses that work in a fast-paced environment, like startups, for example, or tech industries in general. I don't want to, take out old economy companies altogether, but it definitely might apply there as well. What you see is that sometimes, people will work towards a certain target, and then as the year progresses, you realize actually that might be a little bit low. And then you see managers kind of getting a little bit nervous. It's, oh, damn, now we actually have to pay them out the bonus, but actually it's getting a little bit unrealistic. And what you see then happen in the second step, that maybe, once a particular bonus is actually paid out, then targets actually get adjusted down, up, etc. the way managers often, or, people higher up see fit, not so much in collaboration with the employees or team members themselves, which then in turn can lead to frustration. So I know I'm actually arguing against bonuses now, because that's also the main reason why I definitely, when I work with companies, I recommend think about it clearly before you implement these things. So you do have something in mind of how it can work better. And I think the communication piece is a big thing, right? So you're setting expectations, but it's also something that can be managed. So I think management training is crucial, like with all other topics anyway, to make sure that whatever managers set up, implement, communicate gets the desired effect, right? The worst that can happen is you have a bonus scheme that actually works well and no one really appreciates it or is motivated by it, because all it is at the end of the day is maybe a message once the bonus is done, if at all, or simply an additional, bank transfer onto your bank account. And then the desired effect is really lost. But you see that happen with a lot of components in compensation benefits, right? So the communication aspect is important, making sure it's fair. So the people managers really are key in making sure it's a success. But that's hard to do, I guess, especially once a company grows and has other priorities, which is why you really need enough time to invest to make sure things go right.
Yes. Exactly. Griet, is there anything you want to add?
Well, I completely agree. And I think that the most important thing, of course, is that bonuses cannot replace the basic salary. That should be considered as fair. That's, I think, the first starting point. And also when we talk about bonuses, let's be very careful, because we've been talking about expectations. And I think that the word disappointment is also often linked to bonuses, especially when you have individual differences. And here in Belgium, a lot of people go like, yeah, we don't talk about salary, but all of a sudden they do. And why do you get €5 more than I do? This might already interfere with the perception of fairness. And then bonuses become really tricky.
Yeah. Marie, any last words before we move on?
The last thing I would maybe also, give into the wrap, but also to the listeners and viewers, is that keep in mind that calculating bonuses can be really tricky, right? Also, the more fair you want to make it, often the more complex it gets, as Griet also mentioned, having individual components, team, company components, whatever you want to get into that. And also making sure that once you have a way of calculating it, which is how do you actually calculate it? How do you weigh it? What is fair? Is it fair for one particular sub-team, not so fair for another? So it gets more and more complex the more you're trying to refine it. It's not impossible, of course, so try to keep it simple. But then also the calculations of it usually take quite a lot of time. So it's probably the manager who makes a suggestion of what the final bonus payout should be. That usually goes to other people for review, which can also take time. Then there's maybe changes here and there, debates. You want to do an analysis of whether there's any biases in the way you've actually assigned the bonuses, for example, based on age, gender, ethnicity, or whatever else that might be. So implementing bonuses is not just a nice thing, that you kind of give people at the end of the year and it's all done. It's a huge apparatus, like with many things in HR, that takes its toll on HR teams as well, or anyone who is involved. So also that can be maybe for the managers who are involved at the end of the day, maybe a little bit demotivating, but I think at the end of the day, they can work if you try to get it right.
Thank you. Thank you very much, both of you. I think one thing that I will also take away from this whole debate is the fact that it's just very important, as with everything as well, but very important to think about the communication around all of this, and to be transparent about that as well, and to, I think, also allow for the possibilities to adjust along the way, as long as you keep communicating about that. So I think that was something that you were mentioning, well, both of you actually, that, yeah, if you do realize at some point that, oh my God, these targets are being smashed, well, that's fine. Then pay people whatever bonus they are entitled to. And then perhaps be transparent about the fact that, oh, wow, guys, you're doing so amazingly well. We want to keep everybody motivated, and we also want to keep it feasible, to continue to pay bonuses. Let's have a conversation about that. That's, I think, something that I will also take away from this first debate.